Okay, I saw an interesting talk, which is 10 years old now,
Okay.
of yours. And it's almost like,
Oh, of mine.
yes. Because I was doing some research.
Uh-huh.
And it's again, this is a bygone era. I can't believe we're talking about this like it was a million years ago, but it was a million years ago. But there was a time when all of us game developers were pissed off, as some of us still are, about mobile games
Sure.
and how they're just hamster wheels, which I actually still believe. I think mobile games are generally. My hot take is that there's no such thing as mobile games. They're not games. They're not. I'm not saying they're not entertaining, but they're slot machines. Slot machines aren't games either. It's
Sure,
gaming.
sure.
You know what I mean? And so, but I saw a talk, and this is kind of funny because people probably don't even remember this era, but there was that era when like Facebook games and then mobile games were taking over, and people were like, "Why is Farmville making so much money? I don't get it." And basically, I saw you give a talk about how you hated those games, but you decided they were so successful that you're going to force yourself to play Cityville for 200 hours until you liked it.
I described this as a life-changing moment.
Yes.
Actually, it was probably the most significant step in my life towards being less biased and prejudiced.
In general, too, not just
in life.
Right. So you try to.
Yeah.
You understood people that you don't understand. Like, why would anybody like this game? You had to go. You had to deep dive.
And it was and because 200 hours is actually a very relatively short period of time in my life, because this was over the course of, let's say, less than a year. I still remember what it felt like to say. I would say things like, they shouldn't be allowed to spend money on this. Or, I definitely would say this is not a game. And all kinds of really terrible things in hindsight, which were terrible, ignorant things to say about people I knew nothing about. And over the course of that period of time, I recognized that there's totally a valid experience to be had there. Plenty of fun to be had, just not in any of the ways that were conventionally what I would do in the past. I didn't keep up with it much, but I found Cityville to be an interesting exploration, and it was fun to spend. I mean, by the time I started enjoying it, I was also kind of done with it as well. But this idea that I could make my city in interesting ways and have friends, the few friends that were playing those games, have them notice. We even had a few conversations about it, which was fun. Appointment-based gaming, at least in the model of Farmville and Cityville, to me didn't feel like it had like a really, really sustainable long-term enjoyment. So once you kind of mastered that, it did become sort of rote. But then I recognized how that could take on some sort of like meditative, repetitive kind of aspects to it that people can kind of cling to. It's like, I don't want to mess up my Duolingo streak or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of think I just think there's a couple different types of design, but I kind of feel like there's, mechanics-based design, but there's also compulsion-based design. I kind of feel like most mobile games are compulsion-based designs. They're just compulsion loops that, much like gambling. That's why I just consider them mostly slot machines.
But I don't think Diablo 2 is necessarily different from
I don't
right?
disagree. I mean, I played Diablo 3 when it came out, and I had to go for a walk. I was like, what am I doing with my life? This is the most pointless. And no shots. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not what I want out of a game. But like, all I'm doing is clicking on stuff, and then a bunch of crap flies out of them, and then I collect them, and then I see which one is 0.05% better than what I currently have equipped. Totally. And I'm like, I remember I had to go for like this walk. I'm like, I can't. Like, it makes you question your existence. Like, what am I doing?
Nice.
It's just pointless.
I totally agree. And then what hurt me so bad in D3 was I get to the end, get to 100, I get to the end of the highest difficulty, and then I go to the real money auction house, and within 15 minutes and spending about $3, I jumped forward hundreds of hours of play. And then I had my heart sank, and I'm like, oh my God, this is broken.
I mean, I'm not saying, so-called real games are better, because a lot of these games follow the same tropes. I mean, I feel like games like Diablo are kind of, the same kind of thing. It's just a different skin on that type of mechanic.
And what about like Last of Us? Like the story's drawing me through it.
Yeah, right? That's fine. Yeah, I mean,
and sometimes it's but what happens when the story is what's drawing me through? mechanics light,
Sure. Yeah.
hamster
There's nothing
wheel
wrong with
kind
it.
of experience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just that I see a lot of it. There are a lot of similarities on different axes and a lot of really stark differences. But so many of the differences are just all the ways to interact with a screen that we didn't do in 2004 and earlier.